right.
I'd like to call to order the November 13th PCLB meeting, because we have gas presentation. Can we take attendance? Does it start it? David Fitch.
Anson Broder.
Nicole Hall. Maggie Vishno.
Rick Murphy.
Your name?
Richard Murphy.
Yes. Yes. Steven Zamorowski.
Great. Are there, oh, there is one change to the agenda. We do not have minutes for approval today. But I'd like to open it up for public comment. So if you have any public comment.
I'll say just a quick thing. Doesn't really apply to this group, I guess, but just to let you know, we did close on 8 acres in Gorham, right along the Nonsuch River, connected to another property that we acquired last year. Actually, it's still this year, 2025. There's a little teeny sliver in Scarborough, but it's incredibly small. Yeah. But it does add to what we're calling Oak Hollow Reserve.
Oak Hollow.
Oak Hollow.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's
And then,
beautiful spot. It's hilly. It's very different than a lot of Scarborough.
would you
It
mind
can be,
saying your name for attendance?
Oh, Doug Williams.
Thank you. Or then.
no, it's fine.
I apologize. Already.
We have guests who are going to present the GIS. I don't know, I'm gonna let them introduce it. We have guests. So we're excited. Jimmy, do you want to do an introduction?
Sure. So Judy, Colby, George, and Madeline Tripp are our open space plan consultants from Ushed. And as you all know, the open space plan wrapped up and was approved by town council this past spring, but they've been working on a GIS-based version of PCLB's assessment form. So hopefully everyone had a chance to look at the link that was sent out prior to the meeting to kind of play around in there. And they also provided an example report for a property that you recently looked at to kind of see how the GIS tool compares to kind of the manual form that you all have been using. And so Judy and Madeline are gonna, I think, walk us through the app and orient everyone with the app and answer questions and take feedback. So y'all can take it away.
Great, thanks so much. Yeah, we don't have to walk through everybody through it if everybody's gone through it and just wants to start asking questions. But if you would like us to walk you through it, we're happy to do so. So let us know what you prefer. You want us to walk through it?
I think a walkthrough would be good.
Okay, I'm gonna let Madeline take it away then.
All right, perfect. Let me share my screen really quick. Okay, can everybody see that okay? All right.
Not yet, there it is.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this, actually, just to back up, did anybody have any trouble logging into the application when you went? So when you initially go to the link for the application, you'll have there'll be a little landing page and there'll be a button to click and sign in. And I can show, actually, I can show that really.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine.
Okay, all right, perfect.
And we as a group will have a login capability that's sort of draft. That's not public.
Yeah, we'll have to, I think we have to, at this point, like none of this is public, and we need to kind of figure out what's going to be available out there for public access versus what should just be internal use because, but yeah, we'll work through that. Yeah.
Right, right,
And
but
it's
for right
just-
now. Oh, go
We'll
ahead.
each have our own login, so that group login.
I think it will probably be a group login.
So only one person can use it at a time?
No, I think multiple people can use it at a time. Well, Madeline, can you answer that? Can only one login be used at a time? Or can multiple users be logged in on the same account?
I think it's probably best, or go ahead, Judy.
Technically, everybody should have their own login, but for this particular kind of application, one login is fine. It probably, if two people happen to log in at the same time, I don't think it's going to have a problem. If there's 10 people logged in all the time for long periods of time, that's going to cause a problem. But I think, you know, given the amount of usage that it's going to have, and for the type of usage that it is, it's not a problem for there to be one login. I don't think you'll run into any issues.
All right. Okay, well, with that, I can just start off by giving you like a tour of the application. So this is what you'll see when you first arrive. In the main map, it has a lot of layers on it, but initially only the protected lands layer will be on. And this is updated as new parcels or areas are added automatically. And the layer with the proposed or properties under consideration for the scorecard. So over here, you have all of the buttons for, like, you can click and search a location. You can click here, the hamburger, to see all of the different layers and click them on and off. Like if you want to see all of the layers for clean water, you can turn all of those on. So this is all of the data behind the calculations that are performed when you draw an area or parcel on the map. And then you can click over and see a legend of what's currently on view in the map by clicking that tab. We defaulted to the aerial imagery, but you can click and change the base map. And you can also click and measure length and area if that's useful to you for, you know, whatever property you're considering. So for the example, we did 191 Mussey Road. And so I went in and drew this based on the other scorecard that I saw from when you purchased this or were considering this property. And so when you click on it, or you click on a property that you've already drawn, a pop-up comes up with the total score and all of the individual scores for each of the categories. And also this panel pops up. And this is the same panel that pops up when you draw a property in the map. And this is filled out because I've already gone in and filled it out based on the old scorecard. But certain things are populated automatically and certain things need to be filled out by the committee because it's something more subjective or something that we don't have data for. So you have a property name, you can click and select the site type. So if you're just testing things out and want to explore a new property, you can just make it a test, but you can also put in properties that you want to be an official recommendation or properties that are completed or a proposed property. And that might help us, you know, when we're figuring out what to share, what part of this data to share publicly, how to filter that out. And so most of the scores are calculated automatically based on data in the map, like the aquifer recharge score just calculates based on if it overlaps with that data layer. And then there are certain ones, like the additional points for each of those categories, where you can enter in a note, like there's something that isn't in the data that is really important for clean water. You make a note of that, and then you can add however many points you'd like to. And that adds to the total for the clean water score. And just to sort of run through, because it's a lot of information, and stop me or ask a question if you have a question on something specific, but let me show you. So for several of the questions, they ask, like, are there going to be passive recreation opportunities? That's not something that we have mapped, but it's something that you might know based on the property that it already provides passive recreation, yes, or it will in the future. And so you can click and select, and then that'll calculate into the total points. So once you've done that with a property, make sure to click update so that all of those changes save. And then if you want to export a scorecard, this will export a PDF that shows all of the scores assigned for the different parameters that are in the scorecard, the data that those parameters are based on, and then it has a description of how those scores are calculated. So if you're going to generate a report, those use credits, but a very small amount of credits. So just make sure if you've already generated a report for a property and it's the same thing, then just you can go here to download reports that you've already created. But if you haven't downloaded or you haven't generated a report for that property, you can just click generate and it'll generate a PDF that you can then download to your computer. And I can pull up the scorecard for the case study. But before I do that, are there any questions about the application interface or how to do anything?
To create a new scorecard, to create a new polygon, the instructions say, click new feature. I do not see something called new feature.
That's a wording mistake. Sorry, I can change that, but you click this.
Could you just open could you go to the map, the full map and try and start a new polygon for us?
Yes, let's see. Just go over here. And so what you do when you create a new area is you click here and I'll update those
You have to click
instructions.
score a site first.
Yeah, score a site and make sure that you're on this tab and then click this layer. And then you'll have the little orange dot. And so once you have that, you just click on the map.
So we can't select parcels we're going to be drawing on. It was,
That's what was gonna be my question.
it was.
You actually can select
No,
a
it's
parcel.
under or, right?
I thought it was like,
Yeah.
a lot map.
You have to, you can't select the parcel. We had to make a executive decision because the way that the GIS, the way that the applications work, we had two choices. One, you could select a parcel and that's the only thing you could do, or you could draw a polygon yourselves. And so because you don't always want to look at the whole entire property, we decided to go with just drawing a polygon. You can trace, you have the line, so you can trace an existing parcel, but you can't just pick a parcel from the existing parcels. And that was just so that you could pick smaller areas or areas that encompass more than one parcel for one analysis.
Sure.
That's the right
So
choice.
we can see parcel boundaries, which you can then trace, but to do an evaluation, we have to draw.
Yes.
So let's see the parcel boundary.
You can see the parcel boundary, you can't select it.
That's fine.
Yeah, so Madeline, if you can go through the process of slowly creating a new report for us from that, that'd be great.
Sorry, what was that? Go through the process of?
Could you score that and create a report for that, whatever that is, yeah.
Yes. So I've drawn that parcel and let me go back and show you. So you can zoom in and the gray lines are the parcel boundaries. And so you can follow those. And then if you were looking at, say, an easement of just this forested area, you can trace that and then you double click to complete the area. And then once it appears with the blue color, then this panel over to the side here will appear and you can enter in the project name, the site type.
Can give the text larger. Maybe it's just me. I can't.
I'm
having
It's
a
clear.
hard
It's-
Yes,
it's
let me
clear,
see.
but I can't see.
I still can't read
Yeah.
it.
How's that?
Well, the other thing is, is it possible, does anybody know,
I'm
turn that
sure.
light off that's shining in the street, because it makes that big screen unusable.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if we look over
Maybe
here.
to adjust.
Actually, if you turn the whole back on, I'm worried.
Okay. Can everybody see that now? Is that text size large enough?
It's better.
All right. So now that you've created the parcel, you can see that certain things have already calculated. And then you already have a total for each of those scores. But there's certain areas that, because they're filled in by the committee, you need to make sure and go through and fill those out to get a correct score. I think most of those have
So
to do
for,
with,
if you slow down a little bit there, Madeline, for each
yes,
section. So for each section, it's going to calculate the points that are GIS based. And at the bottom of each section, there's going to be the ability to add more points. So if for some reason you have assessed it and said, well, it only got 68 points for water quality, but we know that there's a really good pond on there that, or a vernal pool or something that we don't have great data for, then you just type in the notes and say, we're, this is the consideration and this is how many points we're adding for it. And you can fill those notes in and you can add points. So that allows you to be flexible. So it's not just the GIS answers that you get, you can adjust them. Yeah, and then you can just go ahead and that's for each section. So there's one under the water quality section. So each section of the scorecard has that ability. And then for the questions about public access and things that we don't, that we don't have the data for because it's a new property, so we don't know whether there's going to be public access on it or not, but you have some sense of whether that's going to be true or not, then those are the questions for you to fill in. And then it will put the score for those.
so as you go through, the score automatically adds up. And then for things like scenic views, all of those will need to be filled out by the committee.
So the way I think about it is that once you draw the parcel, it basically does the analysis that Micah had been doing for us.
Yep.
And
Yes.
we go through each of those to confirm that those values make sense to us. And then we add the additional information from the application, the presentation from the applicant. And then generally, I mean, we know that some of the data sources aren't perfect. So if there is additional information about wildlife habitat, we would then put a qualitative assessment of why we're adding points and then the points associated with that. And each category has that ability. And then
Yep.
our categories that aren't at all GIS based, that we've always done manually. And this, instead of going through the spreadsheet, we still go through the portal.
So I have a question. I assume that it's pulling from the GIS database somewhere. Is there, how do we know when that is updated and how is this app updated along with that data? So in 2026, in February 2026, if we're doing this, is it updated? Or is this something, okay, before we do this, we need to make sure Micah has updated it? What's the process there?
So there are certain, for all of the data layers that we've pulled in data from the state that automatically updates. And so that will be updated automatically. And then there are certain things that we will update on a yearly basis. But then as far as knowing when data has been updated, when you export a report, and I'll show that in a second, for each data layer, we've put in the last time that we've checked that data was, updated, and the last time for certain layers that aren't updated automatically, the last time that we added that layer again, the newest version of that data. And so that will be available in the report for each data layer that's used.
So
So
you're
you'll,
going in, so excuse me, Maddie, but you're going in and updating and doing these updates. Is that the process? I'm just trying to get at what's the process.
yes.
For some things. Yeah.
For some things, but some data layers are automatically updated. And so, for example, unstable bluffs are pulled in from Maine Geological Survey, and they are always updating that data. And the newest data that they've published online is continuously being pulled into this application. So that data in particular will always be the most updated. There are certain ones that we've done calculations like the aquifer recharge area where we've done a buffer around the aquifer data for the state. Those will go in, I think it's a yearly basis, Judy, and update that. And then we'll make a note, we'll make sure that it appears in the exported scorecard, the last date that that data was updated. So then you'll always know.
Okay, so there's not, sounds like there's more than one source of data.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and so I'm just thinking, because we're gonna need I'm looking down the line here, we're gonna need a process for how we, do each of us, and not that we need to settle this now, but do each of us go in and do our own little, and then we cool it? And so we need to know when the latest, what's the cut date on the data that we're all working from?
Yes,
But
also
that
the
is-
question is the issue of credits. Like, are we all, literally every single person is going in there and generating a report that,
So we need,
It's up to Ushed to make sure that data is as new as as latest as possible. It's not up to us. So you should be able to go in there anytime and get the latest information.
but if the cut date is here, I go in here, and then you go in after we're gonna have different sources of data. That's all I
If Meg
need.
pulls
So-
the data on a Monday and the data is refreshed on Tuesday and you pull it on Wednesday, you could have different numbers.
We could have different numbers.
But
Yeah.
they'd be.
So- I think a couple things are important. One, the data doesn't get updated that often. Even the state
Right.
level data does not get updated that often. So I don't think that's gonna happen. It could happen. Technically, it could happen. I don't think it will happen very often. But also, you're all adding these polygons to one layer. So if somebody else has gone in and done one, you don't need to go in and do it. You can just look at that one. And if you want to make an edit to their analysis and change it, you can do that and then export the report, and the reports have the dates on them. So whenever you export something, it's going to tell you when it was exported. So you'll know, like if it's a property you look at over 3 years and you look back at a report, you look at the reports on that property, it'll tell you when you exported that one. And so if you look at it 1 year and 2 years later, you want to look at it again, you might say, oh, let's run it again because the data might have changed. I'm not going to promise that it changed because it's not data, aquifers just don't get up and move around that often. So,
Right.
so I think that you'll be able to tell that, and everybody will not need to create a new polygon. Once the polygon is there, the report is there, and you can look at it and review the report. And Madeline, why don't you open a report so that, okay.
Yeah, we shouldn't be adding polygons. Yeah.
Question, I was just gonna say, forgive me, I'm Autumn Spear, the planning director, for those of you that don't know. For this purpose, I honestly feel that your staff liaison should probably be building the polygon and then bringing the report, and then you all as a body put in the extra points.
I like that. What do you think, Nicole?
And then I think.
no, it makes sense.
And then because I don't think necessarily everybody should be doing
Because
it.
mostly the
individually.
final
Okay.
score really is
Yeah.
done live, so really that would be a
Right.
draft.
So you're
It
the
just
new
might be a
mic.
good way to
And
manage
then you
that.
might, yes.
Oh, it's easy.
And whatnot.
Yeah, I like that approach. What do you think?
I don't know.
I love that approach.
Sorry, Nicole.
It's all good.
So we have to ask Tom?
No, it's all good.
I just, with this,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so easy to use, but if you drop the polygon just a little bit over
Because it's
there and you pick
trace,
up some random layer, it seems like it'd be really good to have the one polygon created by the resident expert.
I
And
like
then
that
you all weigh
idea.
in. It just seems like it'd be so.
Right.
It's
We
gonna
can
make.
still go in there, we can still go and play with it.
Right.
Thank you.
We should, I think any official evaluation, I like that approach. I second that motion. All in favor?
Yeah.
Well, and
Wonderful.
that way you can go through on the sort of subjective thing or the extra information and all be on the same page on, you know, what you're assigning points for.
Well,
But
I
then
mean,
you
that
can
way it's
always, oh,
I was
yeah,
gonna say, in that way, it's not that different from the hand drawn or the hand done.
Right, and also,
Yeah.
if Nicole has a problem, there's a little glitch, she can call you, you're not getting calls from 16 different people.
Well,
right.
that sounds not.
Can I ask you?
And then you can
Um,
always go into the application and look at, go back and look at a polygon that you drew as a group if you need to, you know, review or think about something, and play around with it. So
Right.
it's always there as a resource. So here,
Wait, there's a
is,
Madeline,
Sorry.
Yeah, maybe just a quick thought, should this actually be done by the applicant and not by us?
No, we
No.
can't give them access to that.
Okay, there you have it.
Yeah, plus I think, just to make sure the polygon is right, we don't give everybody access to this, I don't think it's our internal process. Yes, once we're finished it, we have to publish it and make it public, but I don't think it should be a public domain.
Why is it? Why would this, I mean, if there's so much of this is available on the town's website for public use, why would this not be publicly accessible?
Well, I think that we can create a version that is publicly accessible, but in terms of like exporting the reports and all of that, there's a fee associated with that and certain and. and
If
things
there
like
was
that.
a level of like proposed land assessment form is like our level is draft, and then when this committee approves to move it forward or whatever for consideration, like, once we do our process and it gets to that point, we
Yeah.
can demarcate that particular polygon as that.
Yeah, I think that's
That's
a question for
recommended.
you, Shed, and
Yeah.
what the
Yes.
permissions and abilities are.
I have a question. So I understand that, certain maps are included in this. How easy is it to update if there are other maps that are, created? For instance, with research or actually, one of the categories that I had questions about was the the working lands portion, and it seems to me that Maine Farmland Trust may have more specific maps for farmland, so that's an example of what kind of a map I'm talking about.
Yep, for existing data layers that are in here, it's easy to make updates to them. You know, so if somebody sends us something that says these are farms that didn't get included and they need to be included, that's an easy process. Adding a whole new layer that doesn't exist in the analysis would be a different, you know, we'd have to change because it would change the way the scoring is done, and there'd be a whole process of adding in what the scores would be for that layer. But for the existing layers, when they need to be updated, that, you know, that should not be, that's not a big deal. And we've already like, given the town an idea of what the update, you know, what the
Yeah, I
yearly
think
maintenance will be.
Okay, so that halfway answers the question, but doesn't fully get to my point. There, you know, this doesn't include every natural
Right.
environmental map that exists, and if there is one that we think is appropriate to be used, can that be added to Viewshed? Is there a request, or how does that all work?
I think what we would do is, if you all determine there's this new resource that we don't have, we would incorporate that in our annual update with Ushed, and the town would manage that.
Right, and
And then you
also.
would
Okay, so we would
Right.
request it, we would
Right,
request
right.
it from you folks,
And then we
okay.
have to-
And
Your-
then
yeah.
your analysis would have to be, like, your form would have to be updated also. You would have to kind of assign the points that are based on, yes, that data
Yes.
layer.
So Susan brings up, go ahead.
I just
Yeah,
wanna
yeah,
follow, so I don't forget.
Yeah.
So was there a reason why soil types were not included? Well, actually, there's no reason, we don't get points for that.
No. Okay,
So never
so,
mind.
yeah, that's a great question. I think a fundamental, problem with the application, the way it exists, not a problem, but we need to add in. We need the ability to add our own comments, considerations for every question, not by every category. And I think this gets back to what Susan says, because depending on what you're talking about, whether it's habitat or some endangered species, we may be looking at different data than the information that's in the application. And we've always had the ability to give when we do our group scoring, points for those kinds of things. Okay, so if there's a group, an organization that has identified the spotted turtle, and the applicant brings something in and said, this area is protecting that species, even though it's not in the data that you have, it's another source, as Susan mentioned, we need the ability to give those people the points in the category, in the question, not just the category, because we may have 2 or 3 updates per category. Am I making sense?
Can't you just put those
Yeah.
3 things in there and the
You can.
points?
Add a note for each.
Right.
It'd be much easier from a user perspective, so we could see, okay. The data we have doesn't list this endangered species habitat, but we know based on this source, we add in the source and the points automatically get put in.
So it's 6 pages. If we did that, it would double if it's 12 pages and
What is
nobody
it?
looks at it but us. So I don't think you need that. I think that's.
It would be,
I think
it'd be much
it's-
clearer.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you can lump the awarded points and in a note, say how they are broken out. So
Yeah.
like X number of points for your spotted turtle habitat, X number of points for whatever other, important habitat is on the site.
By
And-
category.
Yeah, within
Yeah,
the category. I mean, you
yeah.
have that ability to add points within the category, and if you have multiple kind of like sources that you wanna address. You lump the points, but then in the comments, you break it out and how those points were awarded.
Right.
Because you just typically change the points. You're not making those notes.
No, but
I mean, those.
like as we are running through it live, like I'd be ready to make the notes.
And change them.
No, you could,
yeah.
but what we do now is we just write on the form.
No, but she changes. it.
But I don't make
So-
notes.
But she doesn't make.
Right,
notes.
but
It's just verbally.
what's the downside of having
So-
per question,
They have to
other
go back
than a
to the
little bit
board.
of work? Other than a little bit of work, which I understand we need to be careful about. What is the downside? The way we work today, we look at a question. We say, okay, what did the GIS tell us? What other information do we have? And let's change that score.
Right.
I would like the application to behave that way, not go back in a notes section, which is, I think is less
So-
clear what we're doing.
So what we can't do is we can't change those individual scores because they're automatically calculated. And if there isn't GIS data, there's nothing for it to automatically calculate on. So you saying that there's a spotted turtle there, that habitat data doesn't exist. So those points would have to get added separately. So what would happen then is that after every single entry, we would basically put the notes and extra points. Instead of putting it at the end of the category, it would be after every single entry that you're adding extra points. They wouldn't calculate automatically. You could go in and add them. In my opinion, as somebody who's developed apps, that would make this so long and painful for people to enter information in that they would probably not do it. Like you just would be like, oh, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip that, which is why we did it as a category. And you can put as many notes in as you want, and you can tell us all the points and why you gave them to them and which category it goes to. Like you can say CW1, 10 extra points, CW2, 5 extra points. It's up to you guys. We can do it however you want to, but to me, that would be adding a lot more lines to this that is probably not super useful.
I didn't check, but in this, like this draft report, does it show like how the notes show up and the extra points show up?
Yes.
I mean, there's a
Yeah.
section for each.
Yeah, that would be
additional-
filled in. If this had right there, if there were notes that were there, they would show up there as
Right
with the
here.
points.
In
There
fact,
you
I think
go.
I put in some dummy text, but you can put in as much text as you want to. Let's see.
So on the second page, it has an example.
So like for
There.
recreation
Yeah,
here,
so here,
this
that's where it
trail
would show
score-
up.
blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. And then the additional points would show up here below it. And then that would be added into the total. So you could add multiple, lines with a note of where what the data is and which category it's being assigned to and how many points. And then the total amount of points added would be right there.
So, Tim's point is, and I agree with it 100%, it would be great if we could do that. my concern looking at this, and I think it's reflected with some comments other people have made, is that this is a really neat thing. And it would be easy for us to make this so complicated, so long, so unwieldy, that it stops being as useful. But I guess the main reason I wanted to say something is that I personally, and maybe, and of course, I'm gonna be leaving the committee, so maybe it doesn't matter, but in looking at this thing, if I were on this committee, I wouldn't be able to do it up there. So I realize we can go through and somebody can read it, but I can't read any of this.
Oh,
So-
have it, we would
So
have it.
we
Well,
have to
we would
print,
have it here, but we have to print it out. So is it gonna be 40 pages?
yeah.
That's
We
my
actually,
concern. I like the length of it now. It comes out 7 pages with a map.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying 7 pages is the number, but I do think that we have to be careful of changing this such that a printed version is a book. Is all, because I think we're gonna have to print it off several times with a complicated thing, even though it's populating kind of automatically. So I agree with you, totally. It'd be nice to have those tied to the questions. But if in the notes, if we have the question number
Mhm.
and the note, we can refer back, because a lot of times I think we're gonna have to use printed versions to do this, simply because, you know, we don't have a 12-foot screen.
so what Doug just said, can we actually all log in on a computer and watch it changing live? Would we be able to do that? Would we be able to watch you
Yeah.
change all the things live?
I mean, I would have it up on the screen.
No, but
Just like
through our
this,
computer,
right
we
here.
wouldn't, it would just be on the screen.
Yeah, and
Well,
then you would just
if
be
you logged into Zoom in the room,
Share.
then you could, and
correct.
with the share.
We do that
screen
now.
share.
When we do
Yes,
the hand-
Well, the only reason I'm
So
saying
you
is like
can see it up
some of the.
Right, but she's saying if it was, she would have to log into Zoom on a computer right here in order to
watch
see it
you,
close, yeah.
I'm just saying it might eliminate some printing that.
Yeah.
That,
I have a different question. It's okay, that's what we're keep talking about. I want to go back to actually ask the planning office and, back to Maggie's question originally. So it's dawned on me, so planning board reviews a development and their development is approved and it requires. Open space to be conserved, whatever. Great, and then the developer starts building, and as soon as that starts building, that enacts that that land is now open space. How does that information get into here? And that's super relevant because we talk a lot about adjacency to conserved lands, things like that, and I think that especially in a small parcel perspective, like there's tons of this that's happening every month at Scarborough. But it might be like 2 acres or 1 acre at a time, but it's still meaningful. How does that get in?
So you mean the decision, the final?
No, how does that get in?
Yeah, I guess let's go to the final.
Yeah.
We have certain triggers for when we will then ask Ushed to add that portion of the parcel into.
I see.
So there
into
could
here.
potentially be delay.
There is a, yeah, because there's certain things like with Scarborough Land Trust, it's when they close on a property. That's when we're going to add it into here because we know that the transaction is done. With like planning board decisions and open space, usually it's when like the street is accepted because we know that the development is done. We've confirmed that the open space is there. If it's being deeded over to Scarborough Land Trust, we enter it in when Scarborough Land Trust receives it. So it's not like the planning board decision is made and it's automatically going to be in there because a lot can change between when that approval happens and when the development is actually complete. So there is going to be a lag.
But when there's officially, it becomes open space within the town, shortly thereafter, it will be done.
Okay, yeah.
Right, that's what's important.
And that's through the planning department or sustainability or.
So let me ask, in like a kind of a case study situation, the parcel, I can't remember the name of the development, that's off Pine Point Road in Dunstan, that's like got 8 or 9 houses. Marshview. Okay, so Marshview has,
That's the.
Marshbend, they've only built like 2 houses in there. But it has, a part of that is now conserved.
Well,
Or that land?
and SLT hasn't gotten it
They
yet.
haven't gotten it yet, so it's land trust. It's getting that.
Okay, let's just kind of hypothetically say that that was actually going to the town. Or no, the developer was keeping it, it was being open, left as open space. Does that become on your data what you described when the last house is built? Or, because that could take 5 years for like all 9 of those houses. Or does that happen when ground is broken before the development?
It happens with street acceptance, so that's when we officially take over the right of way for the road and ownership, that's when it would happen. Or if it was gonna be a private, we could take it on, however the notice of decision is written, whenever that HOA document is maybe recorded at the county, that's when we would put it.
So if that's the case, like if it's on Payne Road.
Yeah, so
And there's no street added.
right, so to your point, there needs to be some ancillary knowledge of what's happening in the town prior to this, if you're looking specifically for those connection opportunities. And so we have a database on the planning page that talks about new projects and what's happening, so those things would show up there, we're trying to keep that up to date. But it also could be just a simple email to the planning department, hey, is there anything happening around here that we should know about? Because to your point, it might take 5 years before it would show up on that, but it's officially, and we could respond. So when you create that polygon, you could,
Reach out and just
yeah.
figure out if
reach
something's
out
going
and we
on.
can
Let's
say,
give her
yeah,
forward.
or, no, I have nothing, or there's 5 subdivisions around here. Who, that might work. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah,
then we incorporate it in the other considerations section.
And I'm gonna make another since, so next year, when we have capital improvements plan budget approved for a trails and sidewalk master plan. So that is gonna bring in a lot of what Noah's talking about, and it's gonna be a whole nother layer that probably will get added into this overall dashboard.
So
Would that be a
hazards
committee?
and vulnerability
Yeah,
assessment.
would that be a committee? Oh,
Yeah,
you take it up.
More committee. Give it to
No.
conservation.
with the RFP, I have so many different things, but it's one I'm really excited about, so. Unfortunately, the state has other ideas with new legislative changes, but whenever that happens, it's gonna be really cool. And then it will be really helpful for them.
yeah, I think this is just a really important point, but if you all remember. When we approved funding for Silver Brook 2, I think it is. That parcel is adjacent to a very large HOA owned land that doesn't have an actual conservation easement on it, but was deemed by the town as open space land, right? And we looked at that and said, okay, yes, this is adjacent to conserved land, but we knew that because of the information from the HOA.
It should now be reflected in the open space layer, and if it's not, let me know, so that we
It
can
is.
make that update, okay?
It's there.
Yeah, so when we went through the open space process, we decided that anything that obviously has a conservation easement would count, but also anything that went through an official planning board process and with designated open space, that also counts. So
So
it should
I have
be
a question.
reflected in the layer.
I have a question about that, because I know that certain HOAs don't want any public on it. They want only for their subdivision. So it could be included in open space, but not public can't access
The
it.
same as land trust might have some conservation easements on, but no public access.
And how is the planning board now, sort of dealing with those kinds of questions? Do they ask that of or whether it would be public access or would be a HOA? Is that something that they look at, and do they prioritize public access? For connectivity, when you do your trails thing,
Sure.
I would think this would be important.
So they ask it, I think they would like to prioritize it, but part of our growth discussions, is maybe some things need to happen, some changes need to be made in our ordinances that perhaps require things like that, or when we do have this trails and sidewalk plan, if you're a developer and you're doing a subdivision throughout it, you're required to build that connection. So those are things that are in play. But the answer is probably they ask.
Not at this point.
Try their best, but we also haven't, we have one subdivision going through right now, the preliminary stages. And they do have some trails, but they are wanting to keep them just for their, 27 homes and whatnot. And we don't have anything that says they have to do otherwise right now, other than the.
I just know that
request.
the success in Cape, it has been because those developments have allowed public access, so there's a lot of connectivity. Whereas if we keep sort of saying,
They're
no,
little
you can't
pockets
come in,
of-
you can't come in. no,
Exactly,
you can't
and
come in," we're not gonna get that
Right.
connectivity. That-
And I think
The animals get it though.
I think the
Yes,
trails master plan and some ordinance updates that have to go into effect through some of these growth conversations that council is having can take some.
Are there,
Yeah, I just wanted to, just bring up an idea that, there's probably gonna needs to be some connection with US Fish and Wildlife and IFW. They do still acquire some lands in Scarborough. And they would show up on the assessor's map at some point, database, but I'm not sure how that gets brought in here. And also for 30 by 30, that's sand in the
In the display, yeah, in the ant farm. In the ant
Come on.
farm.
We have to remember too, that the applicants have to show us what this is. They have to show us now. This isn't, we're not developing parcels for the applicants.
No.
So the applicants are gonna show us the map. We will, with Cole's help, develop a picture of that in our system, in this system. But this is not taking the place of the application process.
Right,
Should,
right, no, absolutely not.
No, this is your evaluation process, essentially.
are there any other questions for Ushed?
I actually do have a question. So in, the, recreation and connectivity section of the report, Madeline,
Yes.
RC 6.1, RC 6.2. There's no score associated in there, but there's a 20 points at the bottom. I was just curious, like, how did that happen?
Oh, yes. So with that, it must be not populating I must have selected yes for one of these questions and thank you for catching that. I can fix that. But it should show up if somebody said yes, what their answer is right here. And then the score is calculated in the RC6 field. So
Yeah, I did.
I'll fix that. Thank you for
And then
catching
I
that.
also just had another question about, like the initial, you don't have to switch, well, maybe you do, I don't know, but when you're in the app and we have kind of the existing open space layer on, is there a way to adjust the transparency of that layer so that it's not totally opaque?
I can
Sometimes
do
it's
that.
difficult to see kind of like landmarks underneath to help orient.
Yeah, I can just adjust that and change it so that you
It
can see
be
underneath.
yeah, it could be in the legend that you can change the transparency on it too. Like we can
Yeah,
make that
okay.
available.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll make it more transparent to start with, but then we'll put a spot in there and we'll tell you how to get to it. Where you can make it more transparent if you want to.
Yeah, I was looking for it and I'm like, I don't think I can change this. So I think that would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Yep.
And then I didn't know like a minor thing is I know the total scores at the top of the page. I didn't know if it could be at the bottom or the top of the report. I didn't know if it could be at the bottom of the report also.
It can be. Yes, I can add that and just have it down here in
Okay.
addition to up here.
Right,
And the last really minor thing is if it's possible to add page numbers to the report, since it is 7 pages long.
Yes, I can do that.
Makes it a lot easier to go through it.
Yes.
so Madeline, any other questions? If you could continue on and generate a report for us, see what that looks like. I'd appreciate that.
Generate a
Yeah,
report
I
from
thought
the,
I did. I thought I created something called Beach Ridge Preserve, but I couldn't find it.
okay. Let me see, hang on. So you went in and created a part, or
I thought
you
so.
tried?
I got a score, I hit generate report, I named it, but I couldn't find it after this.
Okay, let me see.
If you just go through the process.
You can just make a report from the one you put in, Madeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, as we.
Okay.
as we- You know, it's clear that for the committee, it's going to be a very complex process if everybody's generating their own version. It really is going to be difficult.
That's why we were saying they're not.
That's
No, but I'm just reiterating that it's one thing to go in and mess around with it, because there's nothing wrong with that, that's great. But if everybody's bringing their own report in here, and then we have to compare it, and can't see them all. It's going to add a level of confusion that's unnecessary. It's better to have, if we can do it, it's better to do what was voted on earlier, sort of informally, that Nicole do all the work.
Well, that's why I wanted to transition to process.
Right, well, let's finish the,
first.
if you don't mind. We haven't gone through the app.
You haven't even finished yet?
We have to generate a report. Export scorecard.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm having issues. Sorry.
So one thing that's true is if you go in and draw a polygon, it will automatically calculate the score. So if Madeline does this and she doesn't save it at all, and you go down to the bottom, you go through, you'll see all the scores. So if people just want to play around with it to kind of get a sense of things, you can do that. And as long as you don't click the create button, it's not going to save them on the map. So it won't get confusing because there's a whole bunch of just test ones. So if you want to look at it like that, you can go in and you can change the scores and everything, and it'll tell you what the final score is. It'll tell you what the individual scores are. Until you click that create button, it doesn't save that polygon. So once you hit create, then the polygon gets saved. And then
So
you can export the scorecard.
So if anyone goes on there and hits create, it's going to be saved in the version everybody sees.
It will,
And it'll
yes,
come
once you hit
yes.
create, then it saves it. Yep.
And
It doesn't cost anything to create a new
It does
site,
not.
only to export the report.
but now you're
And it-
looking, now everybody's looking at a map that's inaccurate. Because
Madeline, can
someone went in and created another
Yeah.
polygon.
You can delete them. You can delete them. Yeah.
And they'll all be labeled tests. So, we have to talk about the process, but Nicole will be making the only official.
I would recommend strongly that.
My proposal would be I do the test, right? And get the basic scores, and I'm not putting in all the extras, and then I export it, and then everybody's gonna get this, and it'll
Yep.
show the ones that are zero, and that's where our discussion point is,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
People are gonna go and look at this, they're gonna hit create, they're gonna do it by mistake, they're not gonna know, they're gonna forget. And now you're gonna have polygons out there that don't have any basis in anything except someone's thought process that day. So this is a formal tool of this committee. We need to make sure that the underlying map, when it comes up for Nicole, is an accurate map.
And just like Micah, I would have to have it done 2 weeks prior anyway, so.
So while we're talking about this, this is a question for Judy and Madeline. Could there be two different permissions, and one is the PCLB login where you can go in and create things, but nothing gets saved within the app? But like staff could have the official login where actual parcels or portions of parcels, polygons get saved permanently in the system. Well, permanently, we could go in and delete them, but just so there aren't a bunch of just like random tests saved in there. So you could, the PCLB members could go in, create their polygons and see kind of like what the score would be for that specific polygon, but it's not saved within the app. And staff would have the permissions to go in and create the permanent polygons.
That would take care of.
You only,
Yeah,
right?
We'll have to
There's-
look into that. I'm not 100% sure if we can do,
Okay.
because to be able to put the dots in, you have to have certain editing capabilities. And I don't know if we can say you can just make it, but you can't save it, but we'll look into it and see if we can.
Okay.
Judy, I have a question for you. You just did a test form. Did you just save that?
Yep.
Yes.
Could you
Yep.
show me how to recall it?
So when you save it, it appears in the map. And it's just there. And so you go back and you navigate to it and you click on it. And make sure that you're on the score site tab. And then it pulls back up the whole scorecard and you can make changes to it. And then you just, as long as you click update, it'll make those changes.
Or if you want to get rid of it, that's where you would click delete. Like if you
Yes.
did accidentally save it,
So.
That's where
if
you
I
you can
went
click
in-
delete.
If I went in and did a very similar polygon. And saved it under test 2, that would show up as 2 different files, correct?
But they would, and
So
they
I
would both
would know-
appear in the map.
I would know not to save my working copy as Nicole's official copy. Just because when I go to recall the work that I did, it would have a different file name, so I wouldn't go in and change hers. I would only dub around with my own.
Right, you can put your name on.
I think
So
they're
I
just
could
trying to
put my
think of
name and nobody-
safety
I wouldn't be
protocols.
authorized.
Yeah.
Generation reports.
yeah, the other option is that we can make another category. Right,
Like
so
scratch.
instead, like scratch or, you know what I mean, so that Nicole knows if she goes in there and sees one
yeah.
that says scratch, she can delete it. Like if it's something that somebody put over one that she needs to put in, then you know that anything you leave in there that's called scratch can be deleted. It doesn't mean that you can't export a report to have for yourself to look at later, but the polygon can be deleted. And then it doesn't mess up, it doesn't have millions of polygons all over the map from people trying it out.
Okay, so the last question I have is, can you clear that pop-up box for a second and look at the polygon? Is there a way you can do that? So if I go to that screen and I happen to do the exact same polygon as Nicole and Doug and Steve and other people, are they all stacked on top of each other? How do I find my own?
When you click on it, if you click on it, Madeline, you'll see it'll say that if there's 3 polygons under it,
Yeah,
it'll actually tell you that see how it says 1 of 2, because 1 is the parcel. So if she clicks that arrow there,
okay,
it's going to tell you the actual parcel data. Oops.
and then you'd come across mine and know.
And
that
so
it's
if there were
stacked.
4 polygons there, it would say 5, that this is 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, and then
Okay.
you could scroll through them. Yep.
Okay, so as long as I was careful not to save my work as Nicole's official committee copy, then
Yep.
mine would be separate. And I could go in and I could extrapolate numbers that I wanted to, and make
Yep.
my own edits or challenge things, so that when I come into the committee meeting, I could say, well, I scored it this way because I added emphasis on other things.
Correct. And I would
Without
say,
messing
put your name on it,
up.
so give it a
Okay.
property name and then your name. And that way, when you're scrolling through them, you'll be able to tell which one is yours.
Does that's safe enough?
I think the
That
only
makes sense
issue in
what
that
you
is,
mean.
I don't know, I'm a paper person, so if I was doing a scratch and I wanted to be prepared to come to the meeting, I'd be likely to download it.
The overlays.
And so that is a
Yeah,
credit,
I
right?
was gonna say,
Like, not everybody's gonna come in with their laptop and know their layer and.
we can maybe talk a little bit about process and public work for the group, because
Yeah.
it does seem like you draw the parcel, you export the report, everybody gets the report, and they can make
That would be my
make
proposal,
notes on
right?
it, rather than everybody having their own separate kind of like polygon that they
Yeah.
that they did on there. Because really, the only thing that you can change is the stuff
Yeah, like that.
that,
The nuance
Yes.
things, yeah.
yes.
Yep.
So like the underlying score is the underlying score, so I would say make changes to the exported report and not have a new,
Each export their own, yeah.
right, have a new report for everything.
So
It
we're
makes
ready to
sense.
talk about process? So for example,
That's a really important point, though, I'm sorry. What Rick was talking about was the ability to look this ahead of time and make your own judgmental changes.
having the exported report to do that on would accomplish the same thing without getting into the live stuff. So, you know, if we get the exported report in form that people can go through in detail like this and make their changes on, you accomplish the same thing, but there's no chance of volunteers
Yeah.
getting involved in this database. This is really hairy stuff. It's fantastic. But it's incredibly complex. All the GIS overlays and everything else, we're, you know, we can have volunteers messing around with.
Is that, I had
Break
already,
it.
Yeah.
We can always delete, redraw, so.
I had already,
Yeah, but I think we're going around in circles, I think we already go through the process, because I think we already decided what we'll do based on the conversation. I think you were talking when Jamie had suggested that we write a report. And Cole generates the report and gets to the group and we.
You'll
So I
have it
think you
enough
missed that.
time to
So let's-
review
Let's
it.
formally go through that. Anybody, any other questions about for Ushed?
Possible. What are we talking about for cost? What does that mean? In this.
Yeah, is points at dollars?
The credits, you mean?
yeah.
No, they're not, they're not dollars.
No.
It's
I
a
think-
software.
Yeah,
Okay.
you get, it's a way Esri charges people for things because they love to find new ways to charge people for things.
No,
It's
no,
like
the
half a
license-
credit.
But
Okay.
what we can do is we can, because this is set in its own group with its own login, we can set a limit on the number of credits. And then if for some reason you guys go beyond that limit, then we can have a conversation about whether we need to increase the limit and add cost for what it costs us to maintain that. But you know, we can easily put that limit in there and then it will stop doing it once it hits that limit. And I suspect that it will be plenty and it will not hit the limit.
So I could see this group probably needing 2 exports per parcel.
Correct.
One is the initial, where you're just getting the GIS information. And then the second one is adding in the subjective points or the additional
Yep.
points. So we're gonna talk about what it'll likely be 2 reports per parcel at a minimum.
And we're gonna front end a lot because we're going to test existing parcels, right? We wanted to do, so that also means 2 for each existing I'm just gonna call it parcel. So we're gonna use a bunch at the beginning because we're going to be doing a lot of testing. And then it should slow down over.
It's not so much as it's benchmark, just want to have comparison.
Yeah.
For instance, Fuller Farm,
Well,
how does that?
We'll go through and look at the point at the credits that it takes and we'll let you know, like, we'll give you a number of reports that will be included, which will be like 100 or something,
Yeah.
you know, it's a
Judy-
very small amount of credits.
It takes half a credit to export a
Yeah.
report.
So like, I don't think you're gonna have a problem with it.
No.
I think what we didn't want to make it just public and let people create thousands of them.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, we're talking in the hundreds.
Yeah. And for the ones like that you've already done, you may just need the 1 report because you've already gone through and provided the subjective points. Right? Or are you going to still do?
No, it's totally different questions.
That's true.
Oh,
We're
that's
gonna
right.
digital.
It's a revised, one. Okay. Good point.
So that's why there's
Yeah.
2.
So if I understood that correctly, I apologize, that it's confusing, you know, credits and, we're paying for the generation of the main report, not the printing, but the generation of a
Yeah, the
report.
creation of the
And
report.
did I just hear Judy say there'll be hundreds of those before we start getting more charges, or, so there's a good
Yeah.
number in there.
They will let us know for kind of our existing contract that we have with them, how many reports can be created. And obviously it sounds like it's at least 100, maybe more, depending on the cost. And if you have a good year where there's lots of projects coming forward and you're gonna exceed that number of exports, we can address that with Ushed.
It's another really good reason to have Nicole doing this for us. because
Yes.
Yes.
When she hits the limit, you know, we're not gonna be in the middle of a meeting trying to figure it out.
Yes, and that limit is easily changed. So if it ever gets close, we will let you know before you hit the limit.
And autumn is for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Our own.
That would be a really good problem to have.
Yes. And just so you know, like 1,000 credits is like $150. So it's not,
Oh,
it's not like
It's a very
1,000.
small amount of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pass the,
Yeah.
pass the hat.
yeah, we can-
Want to play with it.
no
willy-nilly.
coffee for us.
If I
Start
go
charging me for it.
river, and then you just keep kind of go crazy with generating reports from what ifs. Yeah. I've done it personally.
Yeah, so I would say, create the parcel, make the edits to the parcel, and then look at the data on the screen rather than generating the actual report. and
When you're
right-
playing with it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah,
So unless you hit the print button, you're okay.
unless you hit the
The
export.
The generate. Yeah,
Create is different than export.
Yes.
Correct.
yes,
Yeah, you
right.
guys can use as many polygons as you want.
Maybe you should make
Or not-
the generate button bigger, bolder, and red.
And just do a double check. As you click it, are you sure you want to click this?
Sure.
We need.
Yes, that's why I added this text up here.
Not called generate,
No,
it's
it's
called export.
Export scorecard.
Okay.
It is
Oh, it is
generate.
generate.
That's why
Yeah, and then down
I-
here it's
Just
generate.
make it red. Just make it red. No. That's
Yep.
the
Yeah.
big
We'll make that
advantage.
red and we'll
Yes.
say, remember, this uses credits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
Create
just
something-
stay on Score a Site.
Yeah.
Just stay on this
Create
tab.
Yeah, anything you do on Score a Site could use any credits.
And
Yeah.
why don't we have
Add to
the card
cart.
and then we pay for the card?
This is why I was pointing out earlier that I don't really feel that
I know we're joking.
your average volunteer in the committee should be playing games with these things, because it's not an analytical tool in that regard. Now, we need to see a run. We need to see what that comes out with. We need to look at it as a committee and talk about all the individual pieces. Then we need to generate another one. So, I appreciate that people have intellectual curiosity about this, because it's a great tool. But we do have to be realistic about how we use it. And, going in and creating polygons all over the place is, well, if people have access and they want to do that, great. It's not gonna really affect what this committee does.
Well, I think that for folks who've been on the committee for a long period of time and are familiar with the data, then yes. But if you're new to the committee and you want to understand how this works, it's a good tool for like, where is this all coming from? Whereas, we've been steeped in the details for a long time, so I think there's going to be various levels of.
So
Can you just
it's one of the-
disable the generate button for us?
I think that's what they were talking
That's
about.
the
They're
permission
gonna
thing
check on
that they're gonna
Yeah,
do.
and she has like an administrator privilege,
Right.
Right.
and you would just be a user.
Right, so creating reports and having lots of polygons on our version
Doesn't make any difference.
Maggie?
Well, I was gonna say, as somebody, would be, I would enjoy going in to see what Nicole has in there prior to a meeting and understanding how those points got generated. And where, where the heavy weight of that particular report is.
Right, so you would get a printout.
Yeah,
report.
2 weeks prior, everybody will get this.
That print,
And so the zeros obviously will be the ones that, or, there's the areas where you will have to, that would be the conversation, right? Of where to add in the points. And when we're in the meeting, I would have it up, doing it live.
right, but I could also look at it at home.
Mhm.
So I wanted to start with the
you could-
process of assuming we're gonna go, I don't see it anyway, Nicole's gonna generate the report, Nicole's gonna be my pen. What does she need from the applicant and does that change? Because I think right now, Micah gets a polygon. Scott?
Do I send them a shape file?
Yeah,
I do not send, I don't.
okay.
I think he just gets the map. It's like the parcel map,
So
yeah.
it's a parcel map. Zoomed in parcel map, meaning not 50 parcels, no parcel, so that Nicole can trace it. That's gonna be, and we need to ask electron.
What does that look like when it is an easement? So it's not the whole property? What would the applicant need to give there?
Usually there's a line.
Yeah.
Like it's like the parse that we can say outline the entire parcel in red and the
application.
the application in yellow. We can do whatever it is we want so that there's
Mhm.
consistency.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
been,
all
that's
yellow.
been happening, by the way.
Yes.
We can
Oh,
get-
sure.
At least with the land trust, you can get it, and we actually have the, farm trust too. You get a picture, they show the lot, they show the easement portion, so, I mean, that's just basic, that's our application now, that's basic requirement. This doesn't change that, this allows us to do the analysis in a remarkably, easy way.
Yes, I'm just saying
We have to be
modified
clear
and
because
the, on the website, so it's not, somebody says, we want half of parcel 3. I know parcels have a very long
You
number,
have to be
but
clear
like,
that you have to delineate the boundary.
Who says what?
I'm saying we need to formalize.
Yeah.
our application form right now is not very explicit. And we've had the luxury of a lot of the properties lately have been Scarborough Land Trusts, so they know the process. And I think we found with the Maine Farmland Trust, since it had been a while, that it was like, oh, like, we don't explicitly ask.
We don't explicitly ask for a budget. And what's in that budget, so I just wanna right now talk about this, the process from the application through our review. And the first piece is the application.
Hang on a
Yeah,
sec.
okay, for this portion, are we good with? we're good?
Yeah, I just have, just one more thing, as one of the creators of the new form, I just have some little nits. Can I work with you on the
Yeah,
nits or
so-
Nicole on the nits?
Yeah, send them to me, if you have little small changes.
Yeah.
And I can get them over to Judy and Madeline.
Great.
Yep, yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
great. We'll keep
Thanks so
working on it.
much.
All right,
That's great, thank you.
all right,
Thanks so
bye,
much.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Really good tool.
So because Nicole will be doing this from the first time, I thought it'd be best to start from what do we want to ask the applicant of the applicant? And it's, we want the parcel boundary, the full parcel as it currently exists, and the parcel, the portion that we're reviewing. And we can, I think we simplify the colors, like, I don't care what the colors are, but we usually use red and yellow, so it's when you're showing council, like, so the full parcel boundary in red and the parcel that they're applying for, the portion of the parcel that they're applying for in yellow, those could be the same or they could be different, so that she can trace it in the app.
Right.
But again, I don't care about the color, I just think we need to delineate which is which.
You don't care, just keep saying it. You said that 3 times.
So,
Work, Nicole, and use some of our planning
perfect.
stuff, and we can come up with an application, and then if Nicole has some weird questions, she can go to Micah or one of us, and we can figure it out. You guys don't have to worry about that, I don't think.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's acknowledged that the existing form doesn't
Yes.
fully work.
We can definitely work, I can help her fix this, tweak it for you guys,
Perfect.
and then she can have what she needs, and put it in. And then she pushes the magic button, and then
Imagine, yeah.
spends the quarter, and then gives it to you guys, and then you guys can do the what
Yes,
this committee's really meant to be doing, right? Like
Yes.
the extra subjective, the cool stuff.
yes, so you print this, so we asked for that 2 weeks before. 3 weeks before meeting.
I think so, right, so that it's available to us,
Yes,
yeah.
so the applicant submits the map. According to the guidelines.
Yeah.
Nicole has 2 weeks, just like Mike currently has 2 weeks to generate it. And when I say generate it, I mean, she draws the boundary.
I offer another suggestion.
Yeah.
But instead of just having 2 weeks, what if and I don't know, you may be doing this, I'm totally just jumping in here. But we do what's called pre-application meetings with our applicants, and we get a lot of initial conversations. What if the process is lengthened a bit, and part of it is that pre-application meeting with Nicole and whoever from the team to say, okay, this is what because some of these applications, they might not know the level of what they want to do. The land trust knows what they're doing, but others, maybe that might be, does it have to be a 2-week window? Could you
I
get more
think
time?
it's just for, yes, it probably should be
If
more
they
time,
want back
but we
that,
have to have it out publicly.
So she gets it, but maybe back it out for yourself.
Yeah, I would probably say a month.
Yeah, that would be really reasonable.
Can I ask one
Whoa,
question?
sorry, what's the month?
Oh, first.
As in for the applicant to get the info in.
a month before the next.
Instead of one,
Meeting,
four-
you all have like deadlines for submittals to review that.
Yes, it's 3 weeks.
3 weeks, okay.
We have a process now. We ask for a presentation by the requester. So we have a form we want them to fill out, which I think Jess pointed out a few minutes ago, is not complete. We don't ask for budget, we don't ask for, so there's things that need to be added to the application form. Then we ask them to, we receive an application, we ask them to come and give us a presentation. We don't do the evaluation that day necessarily. We have this year a couple of times because the ability of the land trust, particularly Scott doing this, is giving us all information and we get it in and Mike has turned things around quickly on a number of occasions. But normally we have a presentation and then we get that 2-week window of the analysis.
So you sort of do that pre-application process then, where they come and apply and then you have that meeting and then you would do.
It just hasn't functioned that way.
Got it. Yeah.
oh,
Since I've been here, it's like
So
Well,
what,
it's been a mess since you've been here.
I apologize.
You know, it has nothing to do with you. We've been in process of changing everything all
Yeah.
year, you know,
Yeah.
open space and this and that. So it's been a little while.
Yeah.
But, you know, normally we get a presentation and we'll say, okay, now we have the data we need. And if there's not enough, then we ask for it.
Yes.
And then it goes out to Micah. So it can be 2 weeks, whatever you want it to be, but you know, that process has worked.
we just want to be transparent. So right now, when you go to the website, there is the application, but it wasn't even on there until recently. And then like, what's the timeline? What's the process? So it's really just being transparent about the process because we do anticipate that there will be either new applicants or applicants that haven't applied in a long time, like the Farmland Trust. And it's just kind of like, we do the thing.
Oh, yeah, so why don't, I mean,
So it'd be, what do we require? Because there's also been some first come, first serve. So what does a complete application look like so that we get in the queue? Because if you submit a partial application, that doesn't put you ahead of someone who submitted an organization that's submitted full application. So we just need to be transparent with what is our process, what is considered complete, and how does that then go into the flow of our meetings.
what it sounds like you might not want a complete application until you at least have that first presentation.
No, we need a. full-
Usually
the-
it's been.
We need a
complete,
full
right?
We need a
application.
full application, because for example, we need to know what the budget is.
You want all that before you even have. a
Yes.
conversation. Okay, got it.
Well, and that doesn't mean Nicole or somebody can't have a conversation with the respective.
We've also played around with the idea of some sort of jot form. Is there a digital way that these people can upload?
Right.
And just
Their
make it clearer, yeah.
Can I ask a question, Nicole, in terms of your work day? Did you have enough time to do all of this? I mean.
I'd have to
I'm
figure out a way,
I'm
wouldn't
just,
I?
I'm just sitting here and all I hear is Nicole's gonna be doing this and Nicole will do that and Nicole says. I mean, how does this fit into your life, since this is not the only thing you do?
I'd have to figure it out, wouldn't I?
What has Micah been doing with this? I mean, from an organizational perspective, is there a way of making this so
No, this is,
you're not
yeah, I
recreating
finished
the
like
wheel?
4 or 5 committees and I'm always committee land, so. I think I can help Nicole and you guys.
I don't think it'll be a
I
crazy
don't think
lift.
it'll be a really, once you get your applications and what you want
Mhm.
set up. And then if Nicole requires a pre-application meeting with her 2 weeks prior, so then you guys aren't involved in that. She just has this 30-minute conversation. So that way the applicant say, she can look at them and say, you don't know what you're doing, try it, come back. You know, and it's.
Nicer.
No, that's how Autumn would say.
That's right. I got a notebook, I tried it, and it works, and then you set the stage, and then it's really, it's not a big lift, cause then it's just drawing a polygon and pushing the magic button, and you guys can do the heavy lift.
Right.
I mean, but it's,
You know what they say, nothing is difficult until you have to do it yourself.
yeah,
And so I was just thinking from Nicole's perspective. I'm just sitting here and I hear Nicole do this, Nicole do that, Nicole can do this. I'm just thinking, How does this fit into your work
It
schedule?
took me 5 minutes to generate a report. This is not a long.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, how many like submissions do you usually
Yeah,
get? in
you
our-
can
It's
do
just
it 10 times a
fantastic.
year. It's still.
So-
This is a nothing burger in terms of your.
We're
your
okay,
workload.
Yeah, this is not a big lift.
I appreciate
No other
the thought.
alternative, there's like,
I,
somebody's gotta do it.
I don't.
We
know
were
what
gonna
your
give
work-
it to you, but.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what your organizational structure is, because so far what I've heard is Micah has been doing this.
Right.
And now Nicole is gonna be.
And
doing this.
I would guess that we're transitioning from 2 or 3 hours of Micah's time to 20 minutes.
Micah has been doing what.
All this, right.
He does all the individual.
We're
pieces.
cutting time on this.
It's like, oh, did I forget this one? I gotta do this one. That's it. And
We're then entering it into a spreadsheet.
Right.
She's gonna draw.
we're
block
giving
and hit
her a
button.
tool. We're giving her a Micah tool that's
Right.
Micah approved.
They're making you sound like an idiot here.
I told you, I even did it. So if I can do it.
No, we're trying to make it as easy as possible.
That's-
It's not a big lift.
Yeah.
I thought it.
That
Alright.
is my goal of the process, is
Yeah.
how do we streamline this and make this as easy for Nicole as possible and put the onus on the applicant?
So the point is the application has to be totally reworked, not totally, but like, for instance, I came up
Yeah.
with questions, because a lot of the application, we know intuitively and that land trust knows intuitively, but if I was a new applicant, I wouldn't know how to fill out that form very well, and it wouldn't be giving the information to us that we need. So that's why I came up with the more detailed questions. We also need to add in clearly a map and what we want to delineate. We also have to add in the the evaluation, that attestation that we talked about. There's a lot of things we have to add into the application.
Yeah.
So the question is, who's gonna take ownership of that? And we also have to update the process. I started doing that. We have to figure out who's gonna finish that. So yes, there's some details here we need to figure.
Yes.
So how do we do that? Are we here till noon or?
No, we're here for 7 more minutes. So we have a meeting in December, which I think that, you know. The way I understand it is we are good on the app and we have that. There might be some minor tweaks, so that part is done. And then we need to know if we need to have. What we need to do for council related to that.
What do you mean?
Do we?
I don't think we go to
officially
council,
accept
we
it?
have this whole thing.
Officially accepted.
I recommend we don't do anything
Did
with the
they
council
accept
until,
your initial
Yes.
evaluation?
yes,
Yes, 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
I guess that's, I don't,
Yeah, the evaluation matching, it's just a
Well,
mechanism of performing evaluation.
Well, no,
The
they're different
evaluation
questions.
changed.
Changed
Yeah,
because of the open space. Is that a Karen question?
that's,
Yeah, so.
I thought you
that's a
said
common
yes.
question.
Are they-
I thought she,
are they on- they on- since she's on Zoom.
no.
So like that's pretty, we've worked really, really hard on that, actually. That's a massive accomplishment for us to be at a place where like, oh yeah, that's the evaluation update. That's great. That's awesome. Yes. And then the second piece is we need to now update the application form and the process document that goes along with that form. By the end of, well, as soon as possible. So we have a December meeting, which I'm suggesting we focus on the application and the process.
Yes, well, somebody's gotta do the work and I'll do it. We
I
can't
will
sit
do
here as a
this.
committee and go
Right,
through this,
so
it will
could
be
we
impossible.
On December eleventh,
Alright.
could we have a dummy based on some of the things that you've
Susan
pointed
just,
out?
she's just, you're gonna do.
Well, I had always said that I will rewrite it and add things to it
Okay.
because I think I actually have it on my computer
That's
anyway.
great.
I could update. I would take the stuff from the 30x30 presentation that we did, add it into here, and then, but this application form and that
Yeah,
process.
I can
needs to be-
take care of that. I mean, I can do that as this point person with Nicole. And, oh, just.
Can we get that ahead of time?
Yes,
This is
absolutely.
a situation where I would advocate that we get it ahead of time, we all decide
Right.
whether we see enough content, we come in. Well,
Yes, because we cannot do this as a group.
And let's keep, and I think you tried to do this, let's keep it one page.
Well,
Having 2, 3, 4 page application forms is.
yeah, it has to be as short as it can be and still do what it needs to
And
do.
still be clear.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the current form application is good for the land trust and not much good for anybody else, because I wouldn't know how to fill it out.
That's fine. Yeah.
Because it doesn't give us the information that Scott and we get in these meetings. It'd be good to get a lot of that information and let the applicant know what we're asking for
No, that's fine.
ahead of time.
I'm just saying, no, don't
Yes,
make the application process onerous.
and I agree with you 100%. Looking at this, I started rewriting, so I'll send you my notes. We don't need to go through all this history that we did the last time, because this is version 2. I don't believe we have to go through all this history stuff. It's just has to be the process. Do people agree with that?
Oh,
So can
wow.
we get the draft for the third? And we can just,
Well, if that's the case, then we just move the application.
No, because there are new things like the assessment, the evaluation and attestation. There's new things we're gonna be asking for in the process. It's the fact that we're updating this, I'll send you
Let's talk.
I have 3 or 4 pages.
Let's talk outside of the meeting.
The reason we're updating is because of the open space plan.
Yeah.
Partially.
Yeah.
That's it.
so I'm requesting that Sam and Sue send the drafts with the pieces to me on the third, so that I can send it to everybody.
That's something there.
12.
And then we can and we'll
And
make
then
it,
you will
be able
have-
to make a decision on the 11th.
You will have 1 week to review. Add your notes, and we will hash it out on the 11th.
Which is at the hub.
Focus
by the
on
way.
Which is
first the application and then second
the way.
the.
Yeah.
process.
No,
So
418 Payne Road.
It might take us
We
more than one
lost
meeting.
the space and
Let's
they
get
don't have
at
that
least the
space available.
application.
So
So we will be at the hub, we will not be here, somebody took.
I'm sure she'll send a reminder.
I will send a reminder, but, December 11th at the hub. And right now, the agenda items are the application form and the process document.
Do we have any minutes that will need to be?
So, and then we need to approve minutes before Judy goes,
Yes.
which I didn't get to, so
Can I ask one?
Sorry.
I didn't get your comments on the notes, so that was on me.
Oh,
What was the end result of our last meeting with talking about appraisals and all of that stuff?
We're gonna get the attestation document and but we haven't received that yet, that's.
But Tom said he would get us some language for that. We agreed, we're gonna either ask for
Looking
an,
for this draft application before
Okay.
right.
doing.
Oh,
the
yeah.
attestation.
My understanding is we're gonna ask for either the appraisal or an attestation of the appraisal with the number on it.
Yeah, I don't.
Isn't that my
Does he need
understanding?
the is there any
But
reason?
that's
he
coming
needs
back
the app-
to us.
well,
We're-
Tom said staff was gonna.
Does
do
it,
some-
yeah, does he
Yeah.
Wait a
need
sec,
the
wait a sec, wait a
application?
sec. Time out.
Okay.
I'm glad I raised this. issue
Yes.
Since it's.
My
it's another
understanding, the
20
agreement
minutes
of the
conversation.
group, yes, Tom is gonna give us the language. But my understanding of the agreement is we're either gonna ask for a copy of the appraisal or an attestation of the appraisal with the appraiser and the number on it. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You all
there's
agree
no
on that?
next steps for us.
Wait a minute, time out.
Yes.
Does everybody agree on that?
It doesn't matter, it's what Tom's gonna get back to us, we have nothing to
I
decide.
can't agree to it because I don't know what Tom
There's
and
nothing to
staff
agree to.
are developing.
Well, we agree that Tom's gonna provide it
We did.
and we're gonna
He
look
is
at
just
it
going
and
to
say.
give us language,
He-
right? We asked him to give us language for what I just said, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Is
Yes,
that
we
not
did.
correct?
We asked him, yes.
I find it amusing that an appraiser is gonna give you an attestation that his appraisal is accurate.
No,
Given the
No, it's
fact
just
that
a,
he's-
it's just a
It's
cover sheet.
either or.
Done it, he's
No, it's
done it.
either or because there's situations where the appraisal probably will not be released.
We had the information that appraisers want to share, and it's not a public document, the whole appraisal. So what we agreed on as a kind of a interim or something that's gonna qualify as us making sure there was appraisal done and we're using the right number, that the appraisal will do an attestation or the applicant will do an attestation that says appraisal was done on this date, here's the here is the appraisal number. We're trying to make sure that we're doing our diligence to make sure the number's just not made up in on paper. And we need to move back up because we're using public funds. Were you here at the meeting?
Yes, I was, and I appreciate all of them.
Okay,
But there are issues with the legality of that language.
Well, that's what
All
Tom's-
language It's exactly what they're gonna come out with this month on.
that's what, and what Doug's saying.
You know, as a summary.
Relates to what I'm saying is, why does Tom need this application form to get that
Yes.
language to us?
Yes.
Well, that's what Nicole said, he's waiting.
That's how he made it seem, is that he's
So-
waiting for us.
so-
to
No, we need the
provide
language to put in the.
Yeah, we would like it.
Can you,
before.
want me to
something.
talk
Then
to
we're
him?
it again.
I will ask, I will talk. Yeah.
And when?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Everybody.
Agree.
Okay, so-
Wait, one more